Welcome to this week's edition of the Nonlinear Google Hangout. My name is Erin Stern, Senior Director of Strategic Accounts for Nonlinear Creations. Today we'll be covering Nintex as a product and a business solution in an interview forum. Nintex is the world's leading workflow company. They deliver innovative software and cloud services to help organizations automate everyday business processes quickly and easily. They are a global company with presence in over 90 countries, including 200 of the Fortune 500. With us today, we are lucky enough to have Dan Barkley, Solutions Architect, and Matthew Thompson, Account Director at Nonlinear Creations. Welcome, Dan and Matt.
Thanks.
Hello.
If you can each start by describing your role within Nonlinear, it would give our audience an idea of your background and experience with the Nintex solutions. Dan, if you'd like to begin.
Okay. As Aaron said, I'm a Solution Architect. So what I do is work with our clients to really get down to details on their requirements, what everything about their business needs, and then take that and translate it into more technical type of solutions and really build out an architecture that's going to solve their problems.
Both on the strategic level and then the technical execution level.
Yes, absolutely.
Perfect. And Matthew?
Yeah, so hi, Matt Thompson here. I'm part of the account management team at Nonlinear. So we work with the clients directly to understand their requirements and to formulate how we can solve those with our various solutions inside the company. Also, we have a bit of a business development background as well, so we're interested in how our product partnerships help us solve client problems, and Nintex would be a key part of that.
So thanks, Matt and Dan. I'd like to start with Dan in terms of giving an overview of the context of how Nintex is a business solution, software services being used in the marketplace from your experience. Would you be able to start by providing a brief overview of each of the Nintex offerings?
Sure. I won't go into great detail, but you can basically boil it down into three main things when we're talking about workflow. There's the core workflow flagship product itself. So it's what I'd call an enterprise strength workflow engine, workflow product. So very rich in capabilities and functionality, many out of the box integrations. What makes it, I'd say, enterprise strength is the other things that are around it. So the visibility into what's going on, the governance around it, so you have lots of control over what processes are running, how to version processes, how to roll out new processes, everything around that to make sure everything is stays up and running and is fully managed. And then as well the reporting and analytics of what's going on around that. So that's the workflow part. Another really strong element of the Nintex offering is the forms. So it's a very fully functional forms product. With a really strong mobile presence. So that's all together. And then the third part of that is what's called Nintex Live, which is really a product to help you get your workflow and forms applications out to the internet, so outside of the firewall. And so you can build applications that are within your company or within your organization, and then also take all the technicalities and risk out of getting that stuff out to the internet. So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Okay, thanks. Dan, can you give us examples of some of the business scenarios that are appropriate for Nintex?
Yeah, because Nintex has a very strong offering, as like I said, sort of an enterprise strength thing, it's applications or solutions where it's kind of beyond the simple stuff. So we're talking about things like project or case initiation and closures, things that are a lot more than just notifying somebody that something happened. There's lots that can go into those types of things. Things like more advanced type of expense management or more advanced types of asset management. Those are just a couple, but it's that type of thing. We're not talking about very simple document routing when you don't really know or care when it gets done or that kind of stuff. We're talking about more sophisticated things.
I think it would be helpful maybe if you could expand on some of the reasons why those scenarios are appropriate.
Sure. It's on one hand, it's the sophistication of the actual workflows. So things like making more complicated or more comprehensive decisions during the workflow. So if it's things like let's take a case initiation. as an example. So if you're a legal firm creating cases, there's a lot that has to go in to creating a case before it's official and everybody else can start working on it. There's getting approvals by senior partners. There's all kinds of checks and balances that have to take place that make it legally okay for you to take on a case like that. There's all of the technicalities around making sure there's proper and unique case IDs and getting the billing set up and all of that kind of stuff that goes around it. So using something like Nintex is kind of the right tool for that sort of job, because you can get something started. The tools are there for you to help kind of improve the process over time. It's maintainable, and then, like I said, you've got lots of oversight into what's going on in terms of what cases are kind of in progress of being opened, what was done, look at the last year's case openings and see how things have gone, all that kind of stuff.
Okay. Can you describe some of the key integrations?
Sure. So it's on a whole bunch of different levels. So things like ERP and CRM systems, so SAP or Microsoft CRM, those types of things. So kind of the core line of business organization applications. And then even on things like more social integrations like Facebook, Yammer types of feeds and integrations there. And then even if there's something not out of the box, there's web services, so SOAP and REST type interfaces that you can either create or build out on your own. So basically you can do anything you need to do. Some of it's in the box, and the tools are there to fill the gaps.
Can you specifically speak to the integration with SharePoint?
Sure. The SharePoint integration is extremely good because there's such a tight alignment of the Nintex products in SharePoint and Office 365 for that matter. So you have access to all of the objects in SharePoint, essentially. If you're working on document type workflows or document type applications, you can get at the metadata, you can create documents, you can search them, you can do all of that kinds of stuff. And then if it's a more of a data-centric thing, you have access to lists and the data within the lists, and you can manipulate them, create them, insert, delete, all that kind of stuff. So you can use the data, the lists as actual data source for your applications. So very tight integration.
So basically leveraging the client's current investment, whatever infrastructure they decide to put in place, which is great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. Thanks, Dan.
Yeah.
Matt, you spend a lot of time at the client site trying to better understand the business objectives. From your perspective and the clients you've worked with, can you describe some of the ways in which nonlinear clients are using Nintex?
Yeah, for sure. One client in particular uses Nintex both forms and workflow, because one of the key things that they've found is that they have business people that run their intranet. They have people who aren't perhaps technical people that want to make sure that the people that are using intranet and are inputting things and that are designing things even to be used can use those. And so one of the key things that they're using it for is to make sure that their people have those tools that are easy to use, and so they're not programmers. So typically they would design forms and workflows for things such as HR processes or timesheets, things of that nature, to really cut down the time it takes their administration of their intranet, for one thing.
So something you and I could use.
Well, hopefully, yes. Yeah, exactly.
What are we seeing as the key drivers of Nintex demand in the marketplace?
Yeah, an interesting part, to further, talk about that prior question as well, is that a lot of the people that are required to put their information in, to fill out those forms, to participate in those workflows, are on mobile devices. So, for instance, this company that I was talking about is an oil and gas company. They often have field workers that need to put in timesheets, that need to fill out, travel request forms, or fill out, benefit spending forms, things of that nature. And those need to kick off a workflow that that is done inside the company to approve those. But they are out in the field, so they can't, be connected to a computer all the time. So Nintex does have quite a robust, mobile experience, and so that is one of the key things that is driving at least this client, and I can see that becoming more important as life goes on inside these companies.
I can add to that too. They've seen examples. You mentioned oil and gas, but companies like that with a lot of field personnel have seen asset management type of applications where if a field engineer is out and they see a piece of broken equipment, they can take a picture of that, assign it to, or like attach it to the form. The workflow picks that up, creates a case, and now a technician has all kinds of information to go out and actually try to address the problem.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this one client started off using just the business trip request form for their internal as sort of a pilot project as far as the Nintex forms and workflows. They have plans to expand that all throughout. So, for instance, I'm looking right now at their their worksheets here, and it says, new hire form. They've got a business card request form, vacation request form, as well as the other scenarios we just talked about, which would be timesheets, benefit spending forms. One of the things as well in a very regulated environment, which oil and gas is, and other environments and other businesses are heavily regulated as well, is that people have to adhere to policy, and oftentimes the HR department needs to know that they've read and accepted those policies to make sure that they're following those, and so they push those out via forms and workflows, and then they can hit the acknowledge, and that goes back into the workflow, and they can be sure that the people have read that and understood the policies. So all good use cases.
Right, to maintain internal governance.
Yes.
I asked Dan this question, but I'd like to get your take as well. For those customers that have already invested in something like a Microsoft SharePoint, how could they leverage Nintex as a supplemental business solution? From your perspective when you're talking to the clients.
Yeah, for sure. Nintex can be used for a variety of those things, but I think that in the cases where they've got SharePoint installed, it's an excellent use case. Obviously, Nintex plugs in directly to SharePoint. It's native to it, plugs in just as a as a web part there. So when I go on site, I see those administrators using it quite heavily. And one of the best things about that is once you start to be comfortable with those workflows, you can reuse those. You can reuse those elements and portions of it, so you don't have to rebuild, say something that goes to HR or something that goes to a certain department. You can actually reuse those elements. So that's a key part of getting Nintex to be understood as to how it would integrate inside of a company, is that it flows well with SharePoint and that your people can use it right away.
So they're like building block templates.
Yeah, it really is. It really takes the functionality of SharePoint, which is rudimentary. Obviously, we know that SharePoint has forms. We know that SharePoint can do rudimentary workflow, but it really takes it to the next level and makes it available and makes it easy to work with.
On steroids.
That's right. Yeah.
Can you give us some examples of how your customers would measure the ROI of a purchase of Nintex?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, a lot of the scenarios that I just talked about, the ROI is measured in adoption. So, for instance, if they're getting less timesheet delinquency, that would be a key ROI benefit. Things like vacation request forms. Make sure that people are getting those request forms in if you're seeing percentages, usage, that sort of thing. And then a lot of the time as well, it's the SharePoint administration staff that sees a lot of this ROI. They can do their jobs faster, and the people that use the SharePoint services, often in the form of an intranet, are more satisfied with that department's ability to respond and to keep things fresh, because they don't have to spend as much time doing that part of their job, which can often be very, very time consuming to keep up with chasing people down, keeping up spreadsheets manually, that sort of thing. So those are a few of the ROI things that I see my clients talking about. So
responsiveness and efficiency. Dan, did you have anything to
add?
No, just I would echo that point from more the technical perspective. Because the tools are very good, it's just so much easier working with a really good set of tools than it is trying to work with the basic building blocks and do all that same stuff. Just the maintenance is so much higher with the basic blocks compared to something that has a great workflow builder and all those types of tools like Nintex has.
Okay, cool. Well, I think we're just about out of time, so I want to thank you both for your time today. The information you provided gives us a good overview of the Nintex solution, how it can address specific business needs, integration with other business tools that our customers may have already invested in, and how they can leverage it. So until next time, this is the Nonlinear team reporting on how to make the most of the best-of-breed business tools to solve real business problems. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.